Biglang wala na
and the significance and the connection of this place to Christianity, the early days of Christianity, is something about the country, the Middle East, where we are. So you came a long way from Philippines, Hong Kong. You flew over Asia. You landed here. You may ask yourself, what's the big deal about this country? Why, if you read the Bible and you read the history, so many people try to conquer this country. There were so many wars around here. What's the issue here? So you may answer, well, maybe there's gold in the ground, maybe copper, oil. None of the above. We don't have oil, a little bit of copper, no gold, nothing. So what made so many countries since 4,000 years ago to come and conquer this country? And you can read it in the Bible, in the Old Testament. There were so many wars with the Egyptians, and Babylonians, and Persians, and later the Greeks, and later the Romans, and later the Muslims, and later the Christians again. But it's all about location. You may think that we are in the wrong location. Because I'll show you the map of this, the Middle East. By the way, this is the sea that you see right here. This is the Mediterranean. Okay? You come from that direction far away. This is east, and this is generally the west, south behind you, and north here. So look at this. Well, you look around, it's all green and beautiful. But actually, most of the Middle East is desert. Sand. I don't know if any of you have been to the Emirates, Saudi Arabia, it's all desert. So actually everything from this country, from pretty much where we are, that direction is all desert, all around the globe, by the way. Now, the only water in the Middle East come from basically two rivers. One is the Nile, this one, which is there. And from here, the Euphrates and the Tigris, right? This is now Iraq, Babylon, Persia, here. So, you see the two empires developed. One, the Egyptian Empire. And this takes us back to the time of the pyramids, time of Abraham. So this is about 3,700 or more years ago. Long time. So one developed here, and one empire along the water here. Exactly. So this is the Babylon along the two rivers here. By the way, today, 21st century, the major problem in the Middle East is water. Water. Because there's less and less water here in these two rivers and less water in the Nile because global warming, because intervention of people building dams to try to generate electricity. So we changed the environment, plus something comes from who knows why, the climate change. So anyway, if we go back to the old days, this country, which is now Israel, right here, this is where we are, was part of the Egyptian Empire. You remember that there was famine in the country. What did Abraham did? What did they went to Egypt?
Yes,
because this was part of Egypt. So they, so to speak, had a they had a Egyptian passport those days, and they could go to Egypt because they were nomads. So nomads go with the animals from place to place, try to find food and water. But when there's no food and water, what are you going to do? You try to go another place further away. So this is what happened. So this is the situation here. So this country is part of the Babylonian, of the Egyptian Empire. Year goes by, the situation changed. So what we have now is different. You see the Babylonians empire developed, pushing the Egyptians south. But all happened around here. You see that the Babylonians did not spend their empire toward what is now Arabia or Saudi Arabia, because it's desert, there's nothing, just sand. You cannot survive it. So actually they developed it here. This is called the Fertile Crescent. This is where there's water. So this is pretty much Syria of today, this is Turkey, and goes down. Abraham came from Ur, which is somewhere around here. And Abraham did not cross the desert with his animals because he was a nomad. So he actually had to go follow the water. So he entered the country, although he came from there, but he entered the country from the north, because that's the only way if you try to travel, especially with animals, even without animals. So one of the main towns was Aleppo, which is, you heard a lot about it during the war in Syria. There are beautiful ruins there, because this is, you came from here or you came from here, you could go either this way or go to Europe. So this is the bridge between Africa, Asia, where you came from, and Europe. So the significance of this country is nothing but its location. And now we talk about our friend Herod. You all heard about Herod. What do you know about Herod? That he is the man who wanted to kill Jesus. People came to Herod and said the new king of the Jews was now born. He said, what are you talking about? I am the king of the Jews. So we have to take action against this young baby. A couple of words about King Herod, and then we'll connect it to this place. King Herod was born to a Jewish family. But his family converted. They were not Jewish before, like about generation before him, they were not Jewish. They were pagans. But then there was some change here, and the Jewish king at that time, today we would say, change the immigration law. Only Jews could stay in this country. So his family converted. And he somehow became the king of this country under the umbrella of the Romans. The Romans conquered this country, and they didn't want to waste energy and keep their military here, and they said, okay, King Herod, Mr. Herod, you will be the king. So he controlled this country with an iron fist. He was a very smart man, a little crazy, a very, very shrewd politician that always thought that people were trying to kill him, which was pretty much true. But he was first to kill everybody else, including his wife, his children. So you cannot tell that he discriminated. He killed everybody. And he built this town, which is now called Caesarea. He built it like in any Roman town. Pastor Joe told me that he was in Pompeii, and if you've been to Europe or will be in Europe, you will see that all the Roman towns look the same. Basically, and if you've been to Manhattan in New York, there's streets and avenues, right? You know, the Fifth Avenue, the idea comes from here, and we'll see it later. Now, something about this. This is a theater. We mistakenly call this an amphitheater. A theater is what you see here. An amphitheater is theater is what you see here. The Colosseum in Rome is a full circle. So this is for theater as we see today. You know, actors playing. You have on stage. The other one is for gladiators, and we'll see an example of it later. Let me show you something here. Oh, thank you. You look at this. See? Yeah. This photograph was taken in North Africa, a few thousand kilometers from here. The same idea, same thing. Because if it works, why changing the system? I'll show you another thing. this is in Pompeii, in Rome, and south of Rome and the Roman Empire. This is how it looks now, and this is how it looked then. Exactly the same thing here. Now, nothing is a coincidence. Now, we have concerts every summer, many concerts, beautiful place. When they build a stage, they actually, see there's a kind of a cover here. This is exactly what they do here every time there's a concert. Now, the height of this is the height of the last row. This is because of the acoustics. So 2,000 years ago, they were very well familiar with what we know about acoustics, which is very important. The other thing is, you come through here, people would come to here, this is called vomitorium, kind of vomiting the crowd in and out. And if you draw a line from here and all those vomitoriums, you find yourself right in the center of the stage. So it's all a matter of almost science. Actually, if you want to build yourself a nice theater at home, you can go to the bookstore and buy a book that was written 2,000 years ago by a Roman engineer. You can still buy it in the bookstore, and he tells you exactly how to build it. And surprisingly enough, this is exactly what the engineers today do. About acoustics, about bringing the crowd in, the crowd out. You can people come in, 10 minutes later, everybody's gone, because this is so easy. The VIP people come from here. If you pay a lot of money, you sit here. Even the names that we use today come from Latin. Orchestra is this area. Orchestra is not the band that plays. This area where there's people standing. Stage is scana, like a seed. You know, we have a seed. And on. Sorry. The name of the place is Caesar. Yes, this is true. This is about Caesarea, about the after the Caesarea. So let's go in and see a little bit more, and then we'll see the connection to Christianity. The other way around, because the water is there. But never mind. The point is to try to understand. We are here in the most eastern part of the Mediterranean. Europe is there, and you came from there. So why would King Herod invest so much money and time to build a port right here, which we're going to see later? What's the point? Well, Herod wanted to take advantage of the commerce. He wanted to take advantage of about 30 years of peace in the Roman Empire. When there's peace, people have money, they have more money to spend, there's more ships go at sea, and the government can take more taxes. So, imagine that you're, and by the way, this is the time where all this area is part of the Roman Empire. Basically, they control most of the world. He wanted to sail to Egypt, which is here. Why would he like to go to Egypt? What's the point? He didn't want to come to see the pyramids. He wanted to go to Egypt because 30% of the food that the people in Rome consumed came from Egypt. They were looting, you know, they spending your empire because you want more stuff coming from the colonies. What else is new? You experienced that not long ago, and in the forest, the British and everything, everyone, the Spaniards, everything, the same thing. So, you take your boat and you sail. Well, in those days, of course, you depended on the wind. And the other problem was navigation. today, you know, you put GPS, the airplane takes you on land and take off. In those days, this was different. You had to rely on basically on your experience. People didn't have to died when they were 50. So experience had to be gained very quickly. But the thing was that what helped them was this is Gibraltar. So there were currents going all along, comes here, make a U-turn, goes back. So if you're a good captain, sail south, somewhere around here, the waves would carry you all along the coast, and you would come to Alexandria. Alexandria was one of the biggest ports, if not the biggest, in the Mediterranean. And actually, you come here, you buy stuff, you sell stuff, or whatever, and you want to go home. Well, you could go home this direction, but this would be extremely, extremely difficult because the waves goes the other way. So what do you do? And you don't want to have to waste energy because basically your energy depends on the people who are kind of pedaling, you know. And actually, you would continue with the waves. You come to Caesarea, to this place. This is the place where you get food, water. You buy stuff, you sell stuff, and you continue. While you cannot continue this way, you must continue this way. And how do we know that? We know because of the archaeologists tell us, the historians tell us, but also the Bible tells us. Because remember, Paul was arrested. We'll speak more about it, the prison, and when we'll be in Jerusalem. But the Bible tells us exactly what happened. So basically, without reading the whole thing, they actually came from they left Caesarea, and the first stop would be Tyre, which is somewhere around here. So this would take them probably 2 days to sail along the coast. The problem of navigation was that in order to know where you were, you had to sail along the coast. This is difficult because if the wind, big strong wind comes, pushes you to the coast, and you drown because the ship actually breaks. But you cannot sail too far from the shore because then you wouldn't know where you were. So it was very risky. So you sail from here to here, and then the Bible tells us they went to Cyprus. Okay, so here, then they along the coast of actually Turkey of today to Crete, which is here. So basically, see this, they didn't sail this direction, this way, they had to sail somewhere around here. And from Crete, somewhere through the Greek islands, and eventually to Rome. And you know what happened? The ship almost drowned because they got caught in a big storm. And then they had to wait, I think, in Crete for a couple of weeks before the water come, the season of the big waves and the storm ended, and eventually they arrived here. So you see that this is our first interaction between Caesarea and the place where the Bible tells you exactly what happened. Again, Caesarea, Tyre, Cyprus, here, Crete, and then from here pretty much maybe along the coast somehow back to Rome. A long journey. We have a lot of shipwrecks all along. Actually, 400 or 500 meters from the shoreline, we have a lot of shipwrecks. It's a heaven for divers, but not for the people who actually lost their lives. But so again, this is what King Herod built the fort. Spent a lot of money. What you see here is the big port, which is on the other side of where you see the flag. We're gonna be there, and we see this right here. This is the palace of King Herod, and the palace was a masterpiece. I'll speak more about it in the sign up, but we're gonna visit him. Most probably they kept Pope right there. because in the old days, like even in the Middle Ages, they liked to have the prisoners in the basement. Want to make sure there was a control. They knew where he was. However, as much as we understood, Paul was actually almost on what is called today a house arrest. So because he was a Roman citizen, so he got a little better treatment. People could come and go and visit him, and maybe this is where he started to write his books, right here. So after about 2 years in kind of house arrest, because he insisted, they sell him to Rome for the trial, and you know what happened. But we know that even the king and the queen came to visit him. So he was very, very well known, and people were curious about what was he talking about? What's the story? And then they came to visit him. So it all happened right here. And so, well, let's go and see what happened. Closer because there's a big noisy group behind us. What you're looking at is we are inside the palace. Let me go back to show you this. We are actually right here. Now, why would he build his palace here? Basically, the palace goes back about 50 years. First, why not? It's right in front of the sea. The other reason is safety. He always feared for his life. Therefore, he thought that this would be easier for his bodyguards to protect because it's water from the three sides. Now, this is supposed to live right here. You see, it's carved in a local rock. Now it's filled with dirt and sand and seawater, but this would be with fresh water. They built a huge aqueduct to bring fresh water, so the king could actually swim in nice fresh water. It's surrounded by beautiful mosaics, and you can still see here this old from the old days, from the gardens. The thing was that if you were from the upper class of the Jewish society in those days, and the king invited you for a beach party or pool party, on one hand you couldn't refuse, right? And the other thing was big honor, but the thing was that in many cases you had to say kiss your family goodbye because you knew you wouldn't come back. It was a very common that people mysteriously drowned in the water, and very, very sad, but this is what happened. But anyway, you can imagine how beautiful the place was. Let's take a photo here.
So Caesar said, so the Caesarea is based on Caesar.
So we are still in the palace. You can try to imagine this was all surrounded by this beautiful columns, and the archaeologists put views just to get an idea. This is original. Now, Herod imported hundreds of tons of marble and granite to this country. We don't have granite and we don't have marble in this country. But he wanted to build something that even in Rome people would be astonished. And not speaking about the temple in Jerusalem, which we're going to talk about and will be here. So as much as he actually imported, it was not enough. Therefore, they had to have a local stone. It's not very strong. Shape it to look round, and then they would cluster it and then paint it. So it would look kind of marble or granite. This is another piece until they reached this point that they were happy with. And you can see how many there were. But there were also tons and tons and tons of marble come from Egypt, which by itself amazing because it comes not from the coast but from deep in Egypt. They have to sail it on the Nile to Alexandria, and from Alexandria on boats and here, loaded and unloaded. You can imagine how much work it is. What was the first thing we did when we arrived into this side? Went to the bathroom, right? Well, the system was the same system 2,000 years ago. People had to go, they had to go. So, therefore they built the toilets. Very modern with running water. And this is exactly what we see here. The whole thing about the so people would sit and do whatever they wanted to do. And there were two water systems. One to wash the stuff to the sea. The other thing, you see a little ditch here, and this is where there was clean water and people could clean themselves with a sponge or whatever, you know. And if you forgot to bring your sponge, you would go right there. Well, what can you do? You know, or they would use some kind of vinegar or whatever. But this was the system. Now, they paid a lot of attention to it. What we see here is just a little piece because things were destroyed during the years. But some places we have that it's all beautiful marble, fountains, because it's all a matter of culture, you know. In those days, there was nothing unusual to sit next to a guy and talk business, you know. Or say, today you say, let's have lunch together, you know. Those days, let's have a shit together. And then talk business. You know, again, it's all a matter of culture. I guess that, you know, I don't want to get too much into detail what I'm talking about. So if everyone, this is how it is, this is how it is. Nothing unusual about it. That's life. So this is it. Now, when marble in the winter it's cold. So some of them would, if they had slaves, the slave would come, sit on this, warm it up a little bit, kind of, and the master could come. You know, like today you go to Japan, they have a heating system or whatever, and all this kind of stuff. So the whole day they had a slave go and sit there. He probably said, do this with your eyes so you look kind of Japanese or whatever. But anyway, this is